the story that Times Now has investigated. And let me tell you, viewers, no one investigates stories like Times Now. And tonight we take the authorities on in Tamil Nadu. So we are now moving from Delhi all the way south to Tamil Nadu. Days after 25-year-old Vignesh, that's the young man on your screens, died in police custody. He was arrested for misdemeanors. Times Now special investigation team has dug deeper into the case and discovered how the police in Chennai allegedly paid a bribe to cover up the custodial death. Yes, custodial death was covered up. Viewers, speaking to Times Now, Vignesh's family claimed that the police indirectly tried to pay them 1 lakh rupees to hush up the case. Can you believe the audacity? They kill the relative and then they think that the promise of 1 lakh, at which they have valued arbitrarily a life, I don't know how they came to this conclusion, would be enough for the family to not speak up. The family, however, is speaking up, and it is spoken to Times Now, and they also said that the police forced the family to cremate the body, whereas they wanted the body to be buried as per religious rituals. Listen first to what the family told our reporter Shilpa, who's there, very visible in the screen with the family.
ஒரு லட்ச ரூபாய் ஸ்டேஷன்லயே குடுத்துக்கறாங்க. முன்னாடியே குடுத்துக்கறாங்க இவங்க கையில. முன்னாலே குடுத்துக்கறாங்க. அது எதுக்காக கொடுத்தாங்கன்னு தெரியாதுமா எங்களுக்கு. கொடுத்தாங்க. செலவுக்கு வெச்சுக்கோங்க. காவலா எடுக்கணும்னு சொல்லி கொடுத்தாங்க. 1 லட்சம் ரூபாய் சாவு. 1 லட்ச ரூபாய் குடுத்துக்கறாங்க. எங்களுக்கு தெரியாது. இது நாங்க சாவலாம் போச்சிட்டு எதுமே நாங்க பேசல. வந்துட்டோம். மூஞ்ச கூட சரியா நாங்க பார்க்கலமா. குழந்தை மூஞ்ச அப்படியே போச்சிட்டாங்க. பார்த்துட்டோம். ஆனா கொளுத்துவே நாங்க வேற மயிலாப்பூர் ஸ்டேஷனுக்கு எடுத்து சுடுகாட்டுக்கு எடுத்துட்டு போறேன் நாங்க. நான் ஒத்துக்கல. நானும் ஒத்துக்கல, என் அண்ணன் பையனும் ஒத்துக்கல. இவன் சொன்னா அப்படியே எரிக்கணும் சொன்னாங்க. அவங்க உடம்பு சரியில்லாத சீக்கா இருக்காங்க. என்ன சீக்கு? நல்லா அந்த பையன் எப்படி சீக் ஆயிட்டான்? அதனால நாங்க எரிக்க விட மாட்டோம். எங்களுதுல எரிக்க மாட்டோம். எங்களுதுல வந்து கிருஷ்ணாம்பேட்டை சுடுகாட்டுல தான் நாங்க வைப்போம்.
That the victim died in police custody has also been confirmed by a key witness who hasn't spoken in public before. Auto driver Prabhu, in whose vehicle Vignesh and his friend Suresh were traveling when they were nabbed by the Chennai police on April 18th, has disclosed that Vignesh was beaten up by the police with pipes and wooden logs. He revealed that Vignesh did not have injuries prior to his arrest as claimed by the police. Let's listen in to this explosive eyewitness account.
Police மடக்குனாங்க. எங்க போயிட்டு வரீங்க நாங்க? சார் நான் ரிட்டர்ன் வந்திருந்தேன். இவங்க ஜிஹெச் போறாங்க. அதனால ஏத்திட்டு வந்தேன். சார் 2 பேர் கீழ இறங்க 3 பேர் இறங்குனாங்க. என் அட்ரஸ்ல வாங்குனாங்க. என்ன வரமா நிப்பாட்டாங்க. இந்த 2 பசங்களை உட்கார வச்சு செக் பண்ணாங்க. மாஸ்க் கைட்டுன்னு போட்டோ பிடிச்சோம்னா இவர் ரமேஷ்னாரு, அவர் பேர் சுரேஷ்னு வந்தது. அதனால அவர் அடிச்சாங்க. அடிச்சு அவர் உட்கார வச்சோம்னா இந்த தம்பிய இன்னொரு தம்பியை போட்டு விக்னேஷ் 3வது நபர் ஒருத்தர் வந்து அவனை சரமாரி அடிச்சாரு.
இந்த போலீஸ் அடிக்கிறதுக்கு முன்னாடி அவர் மேல ஏதாச்சும் காயம் இருந்துச்சா? ஏன்னா போலீஸ் வந்து அவரோட ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட்ல என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா அங்க பிடிக்கும் போதே அவரோட பாடியில நிறைய காயம் இருந்துச்சு அப்படின்னு.
இல்ல அதெல்லாம் கிடையாது.
இல்ல ஒரு காயம் இல்ல, அவர் பெர்ஃபெக்ட்டா இருந்தாரு.
பெர்ஃபெக்ட்டா நார்மலா தான் இருந்தாரு.
Shockingly, no action has been taken yet against the police. The police which are being exposed not just by the family but also now by the eyewitness. The case has brought the DMK administration's duplicity under the magnifying glass. When DMK was in opposition in 2020 at the time of the Jayaraj Binix custodial deaths, Stalin had expressed shock over the incident. He had also demanded that the police personnel who were linked to the custodial deaths, to the beatings, should in fact be immediately suspended pending departmental inquiry. Let's listen into what he said back in 2020 when he was in the opposition.
மற்றும் பெனிக்ஸின் இன்னுயிருக்கு எந்த நிவாரணமும் ஈடு இல்லை. எனினும் பாதிக்கப்பட்ட குடும்பத்தில் உள்ள 3 பெண் பிள்ளைகளின் எதிர்காலத்திற்கு உறுதுணையாக நிற்க திமுக சார்பில் 25 லட்சம் ரூபாய் நிவாரணமாக அளித்துள்ளோம். இந்த வழக்கின் விசாரணையை வேகமாகவும்.
Let me go straight across to Shilpa for more on this. Shilpa, first of all, kudos to you for bringing out the truth, for tracking down this eyewitness who hasn't spoken in public before. Shilpa, very quickly, why is it that these police personnel who are involved in this custodial killing, and I'm still going to use the word alleged, have not been even suspended, show-caused? Why no action has been taken?
Well, Rahul, as far as this case is concerned, the probe has been transferred to the CBCID and 3 cops have been suspended. But that is not the question here. The activists, of course, are raising this question as to why the DMK government has not arrested these erring officials, because they say the more they are out, the longer they are out, they could destroy evidences and they could influence witnesses. And even in this case of the eyewitness that Times Now exclusively spoke to, he of course says that his wife was contacted by the police officials time and again. So clearly there is an attempt by the cops allegedly to cover up this entire issue, and the family members of Vignesh also, that's what they've been saying, that they were paid ₹1 lakh indirectly by the cops to hush up this entire matter. And we've also accessed pictures of that ₹1 lakh that was allegedly paid to the family indirectly by the cops. Now the family members say that they will be, of course, surrendering this money to the court because they do not want blood money. All they want is justice for Vignesh, who, there are several allegations, there are several eyewitness accounts that have now come to fore, which clearly suggests that there was some kind of police brutality that took place. Vignesh was assaulted by the cops is what the eyewitness account says, and also the postmortem details that we have managed to access. A very senior official in the government, of course, told us that in the postmortem of Vignesh, there were at least, or rather more than 10 fresh injuries on his body. A blunt trauma was inflicted on Vignesh. These are the words that a senior official, of course, used while sharing details about the postmortem of Vignesh. So clearly there is mounting evidence to suggest that there was, of course, custodial violence. But the question is, why is that the DMK government, which protested during the Satankulam custodial deaths, why are they silent? Why is it that these cops are still free? Why have they not been arrested? That is, of course, a big question.
Well, visuals on your screens, viewers, of the cash, wads of money handed over to the family. Now, very quickly, Shilpa, this money handed over indirectly, you said. What is the police saying about these very damning accusations?
Well, Rahul, as far as the Chennai police is concerned, all they've put out is one statement regarding the death of Vignesh. That was on 19th when Vignesh passed away. And the statement said that Vignesh died because he allegedly suffered from seizure and he started vomiting on 19th. And even though they rushed him to the hospital, he was declared broad dead. Now, the police has also detailed the circumstances under which they arrested Vignesh and his friend Suresh. They said they were in possession of 50 grams ganja. Vignesh had a knife with him is what the cops said, and when the cops started inquiring and questioning them, they allegedly tried to attack the cops. And very, very interestingly, the police also says that there were bruises on the body of both Vignesh and Suresh even before they arrested. Now, this has been completely contradicted by the eyewitness account that Times has managed to access. In fact, the auto driver that ferried Vignesh and Suresh says they were perfectly okay before their arrest. Especially Vignesh, he says he had no injuries on his body before his arrest. He was perfectly okay. And he, of course, goes on to say that the cops beat him up for several hours together using wooden logs. And even though blood came out of his mouth, they simply did not take him to a hospital. They took him to the police station. So several such damning allegations have come to light. But the Chennai police is, of course, extremely silent on this issue. The government says the case has been transferred to the CBCID. Let the truth come out, and whoever is guilty will be punished, is what the Chief Minister, of course, informed the Assembly.
Well, Chennai Police Commissioners Shankar Jyal and Sharanya Rajashekar need to watch, need to explain, and need to act. Why are these two individuals silent? Under your noses, sir, you deserve to be condemned for your silence. I want to open this up. Shilpa, stay on with me. We need to track down these individuals, the commissioners themselves, who have turned a blind eye to this travesty and put pointed questions to them. Makes the blood boil. A. Saravanan, spokesperson of the DMK with us, Mohan Krishna, spokesperson of the BJP. Mr. Saravanan, this is a grave travesty. You took a very principled position and we commend you in the past on the Phoenix case. Here, the police in Chennai, under your watch, trampling over the rights, trying to buy the silence of a family. Even if the individuals were criminals, allegedly, they don't deserve to be thrashed, beaten black and blue, as the post-mortem report suggests.
Yeah. See, nobody approves of custodial deaths. Custodial deaths have to be condemned at the outset. The question that needs to be asked is, what happens after that? Whether the government is taking firm action or not, and how the machinery, the protocols are followed after a custodial death. In this case, all the protocols that we require, immediately the case has been transferred to the CID. And let us not compare this case with what happened in Satankulam, that is the death of Jayaraj and Benix, because that is entirely different. They are not allegedly criminals. They were businessmen who were doing business. They were picked up from their
So that means, sir,
office.
a criminal doesn't deserve any due process. You can dismiss them.
No, but it's not like that.
What do you mean? How can you distinguish? And then the police. Hang on. Let me bring in the opposition here. I don't want to speak for anybody. Mohan Krishna, are you satisfied with the response? And I'll bring Shilpa in at last. Yes, Mohan Krishna.
Absolutely, Rahul. This is the kind of the double standards what the DMK is showing today. When they wanted to come to power, they spoke about certain things. And now what they are acting is different. Look, I have a question to Tamil Nadu Police itself today. This is not the first time. They are known for their notorious and high-handedness of the criminals, the alleged accused or anybody for that matter. This is not the first custodial death in Tamil Nadu. I think the Tamil Nadu Police himself has to go, they have to be checked up at NIMHANS and their psycho strength has to be improved. This is not the way to treat the people.
Well,
and I urge the...
Certainly not. This cannot in any way be justified. At least Mr. Saravanan is saying so, but he says that we are on top of this case. A CID probe has been ordered. You can't compare the case with Satankulan. I want to bring in Shilpa once again, who has broken the story. 1 second, sir, please. Shilpa, I just want to bring you in here. The DMK spokesperson, you've heard clearly, making a defense. Are you satisfied?
Well, absolutely not, Rahul. Custodial violence is custodial violence, whether it has happened in the case of Satankulam or whether it has happened in the case of Vignesh. And Times Now has consistently brought out these brutalities. Even in the Satankulam case, it was Times Now that brought out crucial evidences as far as the CCTV footage, the medical records of Jayaraj and Benix, and several other such evidences. And even in the case of Vignesh, Times Now has brought to you the key eyewitness in this case who has alleged that Vignesh was indeed beaten up by cops and he had suffered severe injuries. So custodial violence needs to be condemned. Yes, the governments have changed, but the police attitude remains the same. And that is, of course, the most problematic or rather concerning, issue here. In fact, several activists say that the need of the hour is police sensitization to make sure that there is humane policing that is carried out. And this was raised during the Satankulam custodial deaths as well. But nothing seems to have changed on ground. Even though the governments have changed, the police attitude remains the same. And that is something that is very, very concerning at this point in time.
Finally, Shilpa, to you, the CID now in the picture. Why do you believe that no show cause notice has even gone out to the police as yet. And do you think that that is a violation of due process here?
Well, Rahul, ever since this controversy erupted, the Tamil Nadu government, of course, they suspended 3 cops. But is that enough? That is a big question. They have not been named in an FIR. They have not been arrested. They've simply been suspended. They are even today in a position where they can influence witnesses, they can destroy evidences. And in fact, when Times Now visited the spot where Vignesh and Suresh was allegedly stopped by the police and attacked by them, we tried to get some CCTV visuals from the area, and the locals there tell us that the cops visited them even before us to see whether anything has been recorded on their CCTV cameras. So you can imagine the extent to which there is an attempt by the cops to cover up this entire issue. Even during the burial of Vignesh, there were over 200 cops is what the family tells us. Why is it that for a death of a common man, why are 200 police personnel going there to the spot to make sure nothing goes wrong? His friends were not allowed to click a picture of Vignesh. The family members were not allowed to see his dead body. All of this, of course, suggests that there's been some kind of a wrongdoing or a foul play, and that is the reason why the DMK government needs to come clean on this matter.
All this arouses big suspicion, viewers. Thank you very much, Shil.